Jai Hind, my dear children. Welcome to another section of our physics class. Today we are going to start a new chapter in physics, some natural phenomena. We have already studied about some natural phenomena like wind, storm and cyclone in class 7th. Today in this chapter we shall study about two other destructive natural phenomena, that is lightning and earthquake. What do you mean by a natural phenomena? A natural phenomena is a non-artificial event and therefore it is not produced by humans. It is beyond the control of human. But it affects human beings in many ways. Examples of natural phenomena are bacteria, aging, natural disasters like thunder, volcanic eruptions, lightning, etc. So, a natural phenomena is a non-artificial event and therefore it is not produced by humans. So, in this chapter, we shall discuss about two such natural phenomena. The first one we are going to study is about lightning and how lightning is happening and what are the measures we have to adopt during lightning, and then the second one is earthquake. At the end of this chapter, you will be able to understand the phenomena of lightning, analyze the process of charging by rubbing, list the type of charges and the interaction, explain the working of electroscope, describe the cause of lightning, know the safety measures to be followed during lightning, examine the lightning conductors, recognize the cause for earthquakes, and identify the precautions to be taken during earthquakes. This chapter needs much more attention and you have to read the text also. So let's start with lightning. You might have seen spark on electric pole when wires become loose. This phenomena is quite common when a wind is blowing and shaking the wires. You might also have seen spark when a plug is loose in the socket. Lightning is also an electric spark but on a huge scale. Now let's see activity 15.1. This is a familiar activity for you. Take a used ball pen refill and rub it vigorously with a piece of polythene. Bring it close to small pieces of paper. What will happen? This ball pen refill will attract the bits of paper. When a plastic refill is rubbed with polythene, it acquires a small electric charge. Similarly, when a plastic comb is rubbed in dry hair, it also acquires a small charge. Such type of objects are called charged objects. So charges are developed by rubbing. During rubbing, charges are developed and hence this refill is capable of attracting the bits of paper. Based on this, let's complete table 15.2. The objects rubbed and materials used for rubbing are given in the table. You have to write whether it attracts the piece of paper. If it is attracting pieces of paper, it is getting charged. If it is not attracting pieces of paper, it is not getting charged. A refill, polythene or woolen cloth. Yes, it will attract bits of paper and hence it is charged. Balloon and polythene or woolen cloth or dry hair. It also attracts paper and hence it is also charged. Eraser and wool. It will not attract paper. You can try it. It will not attract paper, so it is not charged. Steel spoon, polythene or woolen cloth. It will also not attract paper. It is also not charged. So like this you can find out various objects which can be charged by rubbing and which cannot be charged by rubbing. So certain materials develop a charge on rubbing and those objects are called charged objects. Activity 15.3. This is an activity to show types of charges and their interaction. When you studied about magnets, you studied that like poles of a magnet repel each other and unlike poles attract each other, isn't it? Just like that, in the case of charges also, like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. So let's perform an activity based on this. Inflate two balloons and hang them in such a way that they do not touch each other. Rub both the balloons with a woolen cloth and release them. What will happen when these balloons are rubbed with woolen cloth? A charge will be developed. So both the balloons are rubbed with woolen cloth. Hence, in both the balloons, same type of charges or like charges are developed, and hence they repel or they move far away. Okay. Now, in the second case, we can repeat the same activity using a pen refill. Take two refills, rub these refills using a polythene, and then bring one refill close to other. Here also same type of charge is developed and hence it will repel. Now in the third case, rub a refill and place it gently in a glass tumbler. Bring an inflated charged balloon near the refill and observe. At this time, both the charges are not same. Balloon develops one type of charge and a refill develops another type of charge, isn't it? So unlike charges, hence it will attract. So we can conclude that like charges will repel each other and unlike charges will attract each other. The electrical charges generated by rubbing are static. Static means they do not move by themselves. So during rubbing the charges are produced and these electrical charges generated by rubbing are static, they do not move. When charges move, they constitute an electric current. You have been studying about electric current from 6th standard. So current which makes a bulb to glow or the current that makes a wire hot is nothing but a motion of charges. When charges move, current is produced. So rubbing does not produce such type of a current. Rubbing, the electrical charges generated by rubbing are static. An electroscope is a simple device that is used to test whether an object carries charge or not. This video explains how to make a simple electroscope at your home. You can watch this video and can make a simple electroscope at your home. Electroscope is ready here. Here we use a metallic wire and two paper strips. When a charged body is brought near to this metal wire, the charges are transferred through the metallic conductor and it reaches to the paper strips. Since same charges reach at paper strips, they repel. Like this, we can test whether the objects are charged or not.
Now, when we are talking about this electroscope, I think it will be a good idea to discuss about charging and discharging. Now, whenever we are providing some charge to an object, we call that as charging. That means, let us suppose that an object was neutral. Neutral means it had equal amount of positive and negative charge particles. Now if you provide some excess of charge, that means you are charging the body. And just the reverse process is discharging. That means you are removing charge from a body. So charging is providing charge to an object by various means like friction, conduction, etc. So we saw how you can charge an object by friction. Friction is nothing but rubbing. So when you are rubbing two objects, you are basically creating friction. Correct. So we already saw how by rubbing two objects you can charge an object, like the balloon. When it is rubbed with your hair, the balloon acquires charge. So you are basically charging the balloon. How can you charge an object? By conduction. Conduction means with the help of a conducting material. Like here in this case, if you look at this, initially the aluminum strips are not charged, right? But it is connected through a conducting material, which is this paper clip. Now as soon as you bring this refill, that is another charged particle, in contact, so this conducting material, that is the refill, will conduct the charge, and that's how these two aluminum foils also get charged. So this is the process of charging. So in electroscope, at this step, the aluminum foils get charged, and when they get charged, what happens? Since both of them have like charges, so they tend to move away from each other, they repel each other. Now what is discharging? So right now these aluminum foil, they have some additional charge. So if this is positively charged, in case this material is positively charged, then these foils are also having positive charge. Discharging is that process in which we take away this extra positive charge from the aluminum foil strips. And what is that? It is the removal of charge from a charged object. Now once these objects have acquired charge, how do you remove the charge from them? So that's another example, when instead of the charged object, if you try to touch this wire with your finger, then what happens? Finger actually provides a path for these excess of charges to get grounded. So the foil strips will lose these extra charges to the earth through our body. So this process is called discharging. So discharging is nothing but removal of excess of charge from an object. Discharging is also termed as earthing or grounding. So we will look at the example, a more common example of earthing, which will help you to understand it better. But I hope you understand the concept. Charging means providing excess of charge to an object, and that is how static electricity is created. And discharging means taking away the excess charges from an object. So whenever we tend to touch any object with our skin, now our body acts as a good conductor. So therefore, those excess of charges, they get a path to get grounded or to reach the ground, and that's how earthing happens, and the object again becomes neutral. Now once these aluminum foils get discharged, what happens? They again close together, they come together, so they do not repel away from each other. So now, as I was talking about discharging, let us talk about earthing. Now earthing has a very important role to play in our day-to-day life. Do you know how? So all of us have a lot of electric appliances in our house, right? We have electric fans, tube lights, bulbs, so many appliances like the mixer grinder, the refrigerator, the television, the washing machine, so many different appliances, and they all are dependent on the electric circuits. So whenever the circuit is complete, whenever you have a complete circuit, only then a bulb glows, only then your fan starts. So everywhere the electric circuit plays a very important role. Now when you look at the electric circuits, a lot of wires are involved, correct? So when you have so many wires involved, so much of current flowing through each of those wires, taking a safety measure is very, very important, because when you actually look at the main lines from where the current is, or from where the current is flowing to your house, there are chances that sometimes you might have voltage fluctuations, correct? And those voltage fluctuations can actually damage sometimes the electric appliances. In fact, the chances of electric shock is also more. So when you have that much of current flowing throughout your house, right? So that is where earthing acts as a safety measure. Now we will see what exactly happens in earthing and what it does that it acts as a safety measure. Earthing is also termed as grounding. and it is nothing but a process of sharing charges with the earth. The word literally earthing, what does it mean? It means sending the extra charges to earth. So you can very easily remember it like this: earthing. The word earthing is derived from earth. Why? Because all the extra charges are being sent to the earth.
I hope you understood earthing. So, earthing is a discharging method, that is, a process of removing charges through earth.
Hi friends, have you ever wondered what are clouds made up of? How lightning and thunder occur? How rapidly lightning strikes the earth? How does the evaporated water cool and brings rain? What causes huge damage while the lightning strikes? Let us answer a few questions. The science behind lightning and thunder is less understood. We shall try to understand the process of lightning. The heat energy from the sun heats up air in the atmosphere. The hot air rises up. The molecules of air get ionized into positive ions and electrons. These ions, along with the dust and moisture, form the clouds. The clouds carry large amount of ionic charges and float in the atmosphere. When the clouds come closer, the charges on the clouds discharge through the moisture between them. This electric discharge results in lightning and thunder. Lightning heats up the air to a temperature of about 24,000 kelvins. Hence, the air expands suddenly. This sudden expansion of the air cools it and moisture form water droplets. The droplets fall as rain. The rain and thunder form thunderstorms. The sudden expansion of air causes a louder thunder. Thunder may reach us a little later than the lightning because the speed of sound is much smaller than the speed of light. The negatively charged clouds induce positive charges near the surface of the earth. The discharge occurs between the cloud and the earth. The lightning strikes the earth. The large amount of current and the high temperature damage the properties on the earth. Even the lightning may strike between two clouds and a cloud on the earth simultaneously. Nowadays, the lightning and thunders are triggered artificially using conducting wires and lasers.
Dear children, we shall continue with this chapter in our next class. Read text. Thank you.